Origin Jazz, and this is America's Raisin. Is it talking about the raisins that you eat? Raisin Cartel? Watch on the fat files. Of course, it's a Raisin Cartel. Why wouldn't there be? That's how stupid shit has gotten. I'm guessing Raisin has like a great monopoly on goods and shit, like on economy. I don't know what does raisin. Nobody likes raisins. Most people, as I can think of, always complains about raisin in the cookies, raisin there. Why would raisin be a commodity at a level that it has some kind of a cartel? I don't know, but this is a type of titles I love because this is from the Fat Nutrition secondary channel, Fat Files. So yeah, let's watch this one.
With an absurd title that has nothing to do with the video, and I'm not going to start today. This is absolutely real. Today we're talking about the United States Raisin Cartel, an entity that is so powerful at its peak was able to confiscate half of a farmer's crop and pay them absolutely nothing in return. This entity was so powerful and so ingrained in the US system that it took a 13-year legal battle going all the way to the Supreme Court twice before it could be overturned. And we're going to get into it right after a word from our sponsor.
Okay, why does I hear like a lot like this from America's federal arm? They act like, I don't know, communistic China a lot of times before like other side of the government intervenes and like people and courts intervene before like, okay, we live in America. Are you high? That's why a lot of people hate federal agencies like FBI. That infamous story of FBI shooting a mother through the window or some shit like that. I don't even know. Even in India, this shit wouldn't happen, right? People will be pissed off. What the fuck you talking about? Like, you can't take all my crops without giving me compensation or whatever. Like, how does this work in America? Obviously, like, there's gonna be like, you know, shit like this has to happen to create a precedent. So moving forward, things get better. I don't know, but still, like, how far back this goes? That's my question. Like, is this centuries ago, or is it like very recent thing?
Sure. Yes, sweetheart.
Where are you?
Fishing, just like you told me to.
Where? I mean, your truck is still here.
I'm just upstairs playing Fishing Clash. It's too cold outside.
Nicholas!
What?
I told you I wanted real fish tonight, not from your game.
Oh, I thought you just wanted me to have fun.
No, never. I can't eat your imaginary fish, just like I can't spend your imaginary internet money.
First of all, Bitcoin is real.
Whatever, your mother's coming over soon, so just go to the store and get some fish.
Okay, fine. Never gonna get laid.
You forgot to hang up, and if you want to get laid more, you gotta last more than 2 minutes.
Okay, first of all, last night doesn't count. It was doggy style, so that's technically 14 minutes, okay? Show some respect.
Gosh. Goodbye.
Bye, I love you. Fishing Clash lets you catch way more fish than you ever...
Bitcoin isn't real, but the people who believe in Bitcoin, their money that is backed by American government and economy is real. So I guess that Bitcoin is real. Why not?
Could in real life from all over the world, all in the comfort of your own home. Not only that, but Fishing Clash is completely customizable, allowing you to unlock and upgrade all of your equipment and even building your own fishing village. They also have daily and weekly events allowing you to compete against other people. But you don't just have to play with random strangers on the internet, you can actually join or make your own clan and play with your friends. In addition to that, they're always adding new features like customizable boats and the Versus Arena. And when you use my discount code FATFILES, you're gonna get $20 worth of free equipment and power-ups right out of the gate. So if you want to give Fishing Clash a try, I'm gonna have a link and a code down below. Let's get back to the video. All right, so generally speaking, whenever you end up somewhere stupid, like, I don't know, having a Raisin Cartel, it's usually pretty beneficial to understand how you got to that ridiculous point so that we could never ever do it again. So we're gonna take it from the top. So our story begins in the 1930s during the Great Depression. Americans are poor and they're starving. So in 1932, they elect a new president, FDR, that is supposedly gonna be able to turn this entire thing around. So once he gets into office, he pretty much immediately leaps into action, or wheels into action, issuing a ton of new economic policies, most of which were done through executive. Policies are usually all lumped together and referred to as the New Deal. Now, if you talk to somebody that was alive during this period of time, a lot of those people believe that the New Deal policies is actually what pulled America out of the Great Depression. And then if you talk to a lot of different historians or economists, they believe that the New Deal actually prolonged the Great Depression. Regardless, the policy that we're focusing on today is the AAA, or the Agricultural Adjustment Act, that happened in 1933. Now, what the Agricultural Adjustment Act attempted to address was the fact that pretty much nobody in America had any money for basically anything, including food. That meant if they couldn't buy food, demand went down, which meant the prices went down, which meant the farmers were making less money. And obviously that makes business very hard for the farmers, and some of them were going to go out of business and they weren't going to be able to keep up their operation, and we can't allow that to happen because then then everybody's going to starve to death. So the policy's intent was to solve a very good problem that needed to be solved. However, how they decided to go about it was kind of fucking dumb. Under the Agricultural Adjustment Act, basically the government would collect tax money and then take that tax money and give it to farmers in exchange for destroying or just not planting a portion of their crop. Farmers were literally paid by the government with US tax dollars to burn entire fields of crops. They killed over 6 million pigs and just let the meat rot, and they dumped out millions and millions of gallons of milk.
It's amazing what these who's just throw away. Oh well, one man's toxic sludge is another man's pulp.
Wait a minute, so demand goes up because there's less food? Is that what their planning is? What the fuck is even that? Oh, I don't know. Maybe take the tax money and pay the farmers extra money on like whatever they sell to the people. So if people are paying, let's just say $1, pay 50 cents, so farmer makes $1.5 rather than like whatever strategy they're doing, like burn the fucking crop. So you wasted food, now there's less food. So based on like how economics works, prices go up, so people can't afford food, there's less food to go. But are you creating drought? Like what the fuck is this?
Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down as to why this was a stupid fucking idea, the people can't afford to buy food, which meant the farmers couldn't sell food. So the government came in and said,
I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
They then went to the people that can't afford food and took some of their money by force and then gave it to the farmers to then destroy the food that these people need to eat because they're starving. And then the prices of the food went up. So now
Okay, maybe I'm stupid, but the way I understand this is the worst shit I have ever heard. This is actually pissing me off. Like, what the fuck? Tell me there's more nuance to this. Nobody can be that stupid. Like, I get it, like, government agencies and arms have linear thinking based on whatever they're supposed to do and doesn't see the grander picture and doesn't take a step back and see, like, what stupidity is this? I get it, like, that happens. But this is some next level shit. Everybody's moron. Like, what was the president doing? What was the, like, I don't know, Congress doing? Like, first, what the fuck was Congress doing? It's their job to oversee all this shit.
The people that already couldn't afford food definitely can't afford food. It's literally so stupid, it's evil. Luckily, we live in America. There's an entire system of checks and balances, and by 1936, the Agricultural Adjustment Act was deemed unconstitutional and overturned by the Supreme Court. So, realizing that what he was doing was stupid, evil, and unconstitutional, FDR just let the idea go like any normal person would. No, I'm just kidding. He pretty much immediately issued another program that was basically identical, but it was just different enough to not be unconstitutional this go around, and that would buy him a couple of more years before they could shut him down again. And that was called the Agricultural Marketing Agreement Act of 1937. Now, coupled with that, in 1937, FDR realized that they're just going to overturn his policies again at the Supreme Court level. So he then attempted to pack the Supreme Court so that he had enough people in the Supreme Court to just pass his policies through, whether they were unconstitutional or not. At this point in time, the Supreme Court had 9 Supreme...
How the fuck did he pack Supreme... Isn't someone supposed to die in Supreme Court for someone to replace it? That's what happened recently. That's how Trump got a lot of Supreme Court justices there, with sort of Mitch McConnell helping, right? Denied Obama, a Supreme Court like nominee, and then gave it to Trump and all that shit. I don't know.
Supreme Court justices, and FDR put out a new policy and tried to force it through Congress that would allow him to appoint 6 more for a total of 15 Supreme Court justices. Now, this act that would allow FDR to appoint more Supreme Court justices did not make it through Congress, but a lot of historians believe the reason it didn't make it through Congress was because as soon as all of this added political pressure got placed on the Supreme Court, and it looked like they were going to lose some of their power by diluting the entire court, some of them switched their opinion over to start letting FDR's New Deal policies through. This is commonly referred to as the switch in time to save the 9, referring to some of the justices switching their opinion over to save the effectiveness of the Supreme Court. Basically, the Supreme Court got bullied into letting FDR do what he wanted, whether it was unconstitutional or not. So now that the Supreme Court is scared to shut down FDR for doing anything unconstitutional, in 1938,
Wait a minute, that can happen right now. Trump or pro-Trump people controls the Congress. They're kind of like doing like whatever works for the right way, like Republican parties. I'm gonna do it, I don't care. That's their mentality right now. Left and right both have become like such left and right, like they don't even care anymore. As far as it fits their party's agenda, they'll just follow it. So Congress is not gonna say much, I'm pretty sure. Trump can't do that now, right? I'm pretty sure Trump will get idea of that. Like, what if I increase the justices? But then again, Trump already has majority of his justices in Supreme Court. That's how Roe v. Wade and everything was overturned. So maybe he doesn't need to. Who the fuck knows?
States a slightly modified version of the Agricultural Adjustment Act that they had already struck down. Buh! I don't know why you're making FDR seem like he was a bad president. He got us through World War II and he was a great guy. Buh! Okay, first of all, I don't know how he gets credit for getting us through World War II when he didn't even make it through World War II. He passed away before World War II ended. As for being a good guy, yeah, maybe, sure, as long as we're willing to overlook attempting to pack the Supreme Court so that he could continue to burn crops while Americans are starving, confiscating gold from American citizens via executive order, refusing to sign anti-lynching legislation because he didn't want to upset the Dixiecrat voter base in the South, solidifying the Federal Reserve, hiding his disability from the American voter so that he could be the only president to serve more than 2 terms.
You're saying
Yes.
Let's talk about
Fine.
Persecuting 600,000 Italian Americans by declaring them an enemy of the state, where they were then subjected to confiscations, internment, and curfews, and then interning 125,000 Japanese Americans in camps where they lost their homes, their businesses, and had to stay there for years for no reason other than the fact that we were at war with Japan and their family or they came over from Japan to America because they thought America was better. So yeah, if we're willing to overlook all that, he sounds chill as fuck. Probably a great guy. I'm getting sidetracked.
Yeah, basically, according to Federation, FDR is the worst element you can think of. I'm guessing he was right-winger, right? If not, like, okay, why is he acting like one? Like conservative. I'm guessing he's a conservative, but okay, wait a minute, I need to Google this shit. Okay, what? FDR is Democrat? Okay, his idea on like immigration and like putting Japanese in camp feels like more like modern day Republican, but that's just weird. So all this thing, I just assume that he's gonna be Republican. He's not. So did party switched during this time or something? Or like what happened?
I'm sorry. So this is the political landscape we have going into World War II. So World War II happens. America raises a massive army. I think it totaled in almost 16 million men throughout the course of World War II. And obviously, you got to feed 16 million men. And one of the easiest food products to actually buy up and then preserve and ship across an entire ocean without it going bad happened to be raisins. So the United States is now buying up a ton of raisins. So obviously, the demand goes up, meaning the price goes up, meaning more people start making fucking raisins to sell to the US government, because that's how capitalism works. Fast forward, World War II ends, the entire military gets to come back home, resume civilian life. The military shrinks dramatically, meaning that you've got less men to feed, meaning that the US government quits buying so many raisins. Now, all the service members could go home and buy raisins on their own if they liked raisins, but guess what? Nobody fucking likes raisins, so nobody's buying the raisins. The price plummets, at which point capitalism should probably...
Yeah, by the way, I like raisins. It's just grape that is dried up. Like it's a naturally sweet thing. Like if done right in a right recipe, it tastes good.
Kick in again, and the growers are going to realize, oh, there's not a huge market for raisins anymore. I should probably do something else. Now that's what should happen. But in this particular instance, the government, for whatever reason, decides, you know what? I like raisins. I think we should keep overproducing raisins, and then the government will come up with some solution on how to stabilize the price of raisins.
This looks familiar. Where have I seen this before? Let me think.
Which is great news, because if the US government has a long, proven track record of doing anything at all good, it's obviously stabilizing things. I mean, look at the Middle East. So the government says, okay, here's what we're going to do. Under the authority of the Agricultural Management Agreement Act of 1937, we're going to use that authority to create a new government entity that we're going to call the Raisin Administration Committee. We're going to have a whole government entity at the federal level solely committed to raisins. Now, right off the bat, that sounds kind of dumb, but don't worry, it gets way worse, because the Raisin Administration Committee is actually directly under the authority of the Department of Agriculture. And the reason that's a big deal is because the Department of Agriculture was founded with executive authority in 1862, meaning that the Department of Agriculture is part of the executive branch of the United States government, which more or less means whatever policies they adopt internally are basically de facto written into law, and if anybody disagrees, they have to take them to court and prove that it was unconstitutional, which is a gigantic hurdle that takes years. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that the federal government just created a new federal entity for raisins that has executive authority. So the Raisin Administration Committee immediately gets to work stabilizing the price of raisins.
Okay, why does that kind of executive authority even exist? I'm sure there's a good, like somebody comment down, I'd really like to know, like why something like that exists, who can just like to create the laws and like you have to actually fight it in order to prove it, which is like a process. So between that, we can basically do anything, right? Like creates whatever type of mandate, right? Which it feels like it's constitutional. Or even if it's not constitutional, right? Like somebody has to like actually fight them in court.
AKA driving the price of raisins up, even though they shouldn't cost that much. So they get to work at doing it, and the plan they come up with how to do it is they're gonna go to every raisin grower, farmer, manufacturer, however you wanna do that. You fucking grow grapes and then you leave them out in the sun, whatever that guy is. They go to those guys and they're like, hey, here's the new policy that we've just written into law under nobody's authority. The new rule, the new law, is that you're gonna have to give us a certain percentage of your crop every year based on however much we decide you're gonna give us, and you have zero recourse. We're gonna take it for a grand total of free 99. We're not going to give you shit, and we're going to hoard it in the National Raisin Reserve. Now, once they're in the National Raisin Reserve, we can go ahead and do whatever the fuck we want with them. A lot of the times we're donating them to the...
What the fuck? This is like a government just saying like, okay, by the way, for no reason, I'm just going to take your land because I want to make some road or something. I don't know, fuck it, I'm going to make another highway. You're not going to get any compensation. I get it, there's like eminent domain, but there is like a certain thing to it, like does it have to be there? You can actually fight it in a court and you get compensated for that, right? That's how shit works here in India, and that's how shit works in America as well, as far as I know, right? Usually all the democracy around the world takes things from America. Like Indian democracy, as far as I know, takes from like British democracy, which itself takes from American democracy, right? I'm pretty sure that's how it is, right? So America has this thing, but like I don't know, man, this feels like unconstitutional, right? Like I said, America has all these things, so you can't just like, okay, you're gonna give me this, I'm not gonna give you shit, and that's just how it is, right? It's like, you know, for the country, you're gonna give up whatever we say you give up. This feels like Chinese thing, right? In China, in communistic China, that is how it is. Like for the good of the country, even you can get jailed. What is your crime? Like it doesn't matter. Like you hurt the country, that's your crime is. That's just fucked up.
The military for rations. We're donating them to schools for school lunch programs. This is why every person my age and 20 years older than me and probably younger than me has eaten a shit ton of these in elementary school. It's because the government was getting them for free by stealing them from farmers. Now, to be completely fair and intellectually honest, there was a way that the farmers could make some money from the National Raisin Reserve, and that was if the administration committee decided that they weren't going to donate it to school programs or the military or sit there and let it rot, which they did to a ton of raisins. They just literally rotted and they had to throw them away. If the entity did decide that they wanted to sell some of the raisins to a foreign market that didn't interfere with the American raisin price, whatever they sold that for, the farmers would get a kickback. But if they did sell it, it was at a highly reduced rate, and the money amounted to nowhere near the cost of actually growing the raisins. Okay, do you understand what has happened? This is literally a raisin cartel. Like, this isn't clickbait. This isn't, oh, the fat electrician came up with a funny name for his YouTube title. No, the definition of cartel is literally, and I quote, an association of manufacturers or suppliers with the purpose of maintaining prices at a high level and restricting competition. It is straight up a raisin cartel.
People, listen up. This is a national security emergency. We have an imminent threat.
The Raisin Administration Committee is literally...
I'm imagining people in the desk in this cartel snorting raisins. Oh, it got stuck. Oh, that's the shit.
rolling up to every raisin grower in the country saying, give me a cut or else. And this goes on from 1949 until 2015, but the hero of our story comes into play in 2002. And that hero is a humble raisin farmer by the name of Marvin Horne, who in 2000/2003 was told by the Raisin Administration Committee that this year they would be confiscating 47% of his crop and giving him fucking nothing in return. Just so we're all on the same page, the federal government rolled up to a raisin farmer and said, hey, I'm gonna steal 47% of your crop, but don't worry, you can keep the other 53%. But I just need to mention, once you sell that 53% of your raisin crop, that's gonna count as income and you're gonna have to pay income taxes. And then whatever money is left, you can have to spend on whatever you want. But whenever you spend that money, I'm also gonna charge you sales tax. It's literally the mafia. Anytime money moves, you gotta give the grape father a cut, okay?
That shit pisses me off. Like, what about subsidies? You can't even give these people subsidies? Like, something, right? There's income tax, there's sales tax, right? Goods and service tax, so that's sales tax basically, right? I don't know, man, right? There's sales tax, there's income tax, on top of it, you're gonna take is 47% of the crop. Do they realize how business work? Like, I don't know how farmers, like, what percentage of their spend money they make, like, back or whatever. But 47% feels like no way they're making half the profit. They're not going to spend, like, let's just say $10,000 in farming with everything and going to make, like, 20, 30,000 or something, right? It's not going to be double or profit or something. So you just took a half of his crop that he spent his money trying to grow, right? For a long time, not to mention time. He spent his time doing that. You just took it. He's in a loss now. Not loss from the profit, total loss. And on top of that, this shit is insane. Like, how does that even work? Like, you're trying to kill a person at this point.
Dealing with the great fellas. I'm so sorry. Okay, I did one dad joke. I'm done. Okay, it's just the entire situation is completely unreasonable. Yeah, babe.
Nick, oh my God, I missed my period.
I know.
What do you mean you know?
I heard it through the grapevine.
Goodbye.
Anyways, by this point, Marvin Horne is driven to the brink. He can't stay in business functioning like this, so he's just driven to the edge, and he finally stands up for himself and he says, no, I'm not going to keep living like this. I'm not going to give you 47% of my entire crop. I'm going to keep everything that I own, and I'm going to sell it myself. And the Raisin Cartel is immediately furious.
Playing with my money is like playing with my emotions.
So the Raisin Administration Committee orders him to pay back the value of the raisins to the committee, approximately $400,000. And then, because he wasn't a good little boy,
that is a fucking cartel at this point. That is like mafia shit. Okay, I get it. There is a whole federal arm that is to like conserve food or whatever the twisted shit they did it for. But that applies as far as they have raisin. Now you're demanding money. The profit you made from that, like, what are you gonna like create raisin? Like you're gonna like do magic and that money is gonna turn to raisin? It was never about the money. It was about the actual goods itself. Why do you want the money? At best, you can like charge him, like, I don't know, throw him at the courts or something. Like try to throw him in jail. You asking money now? You're asking like, okay, give me that money. That's insane. Like, that is mafia shit right there.
Just forked over half of his living, they decided they were also going to fine him an additional $200,000 for his disobedience, which apparently is completely legal because they have executive authority, which means apparently you can do whatever the fuck you want all the time and it's not against the rules. So Marvin Horne realizes he's going to have to defend himself, so he starts looking into the law, and he starts at the first place that you should always start, the Constitution. Okay, Amendment number 1 says I can pray to whoever I want and say whatever I want, and you're not allowed to stop me. Amendment number 2 says I have guns if you disagree with the first one. And rule number 3 says I don't have to have soldiers sleep in my house. Rule number 4 says no unreasonable searches and seizures. Oh, here we are. Rule number 5, where it clearly says, and I quote, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Sounds to me like it's a pretty clear-cut case of it's a violation of the 5th Amendment. So obviously,
the fuck is the 5th one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Play that Dave Chappelle clip of I take the 5th. This is insane. It's the 5th Amendment. Like, what? They didn't even thought of that. Like, this is a literal violation of the 5th fucking amendment. I don't know, like, even the 4th one, like Caesar thing, right? Like you do seizing property and like shit on the property. Doesn't that apply here as well? I don't know, man.
obviously, they go to court. Marvin Horne wins immediately because he can literally read the 5th bullet point of the founding document of the entire fucking... No, I'm just kidding. A 12-year legal battle ensues that goes all the way to the Supreme Court, gets kicked back down into another district court, and then goes back to the Supreme Court again. So after a damn near 13-year-long legal battle, Marvin Horne finally wins with the Supreme Court siding in his favor in an 8-1 decision. And this is the part where I wish I could end the video just saying like, hooray, the good guys finally won in the end, and it all worked out, and we all got together and sang Kumbaya by the fireplace. The Raisin Administration Committee lost its federal status and they just became a lobbying group. The Federal Raisin Reserve evaporated into thin air and it all went away and all was right in the world. But my brain doesn't work that way because I have to know who the Supreme Court justice was that voted against Marvin Horne. So I looked into it, and of course it was Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor. So I found her dissenting opinion where she wrote it up. I'm not going to read it to you guys because it's like 20 pages and it's all in lawyer jargon, but the abbreviated version version of her argument was she didn't believe what the Raisin Administration Committee was doing was technically a taking. And her justification for that was, well, technically, even though the Raisin Administration Committee did in fact take his shit without his permission, they could have potentially, if they decided to, sold some of those raisins. And if they did sell some of those raisins, they were gonna give him a small portion of the proceeds. Therefore, that's not technically a taking.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Do you understand how violently stupid?
I'm gonna break what the hell, man? How stupid is she, man? This technically, possibly, maybe, yeah, there's a technical possibility I'll get 5 PhDs. I'm fucking not gonna. We're talking about sureties here, right? Technically they can do that, but they're not gonna. And even if there's a chance they're not gonna, that shit shouldn't apply here, right? It should always about surety. Does the Raisin Cartel always give the money back when they always sell it? No, they don't always sell it. They always sell it to the foreign nations where they can make money and give whatever portion of the money back to the farmer. No, they don't do that. So that shit doesn't apply here. What a stupid shit, man. Who the hell is she, man? Who appointed her? Like, this shit is insane. I get like Supreme Court Justice is like Supreme Court Justice. Nobody does anything against them or something. But there should be like some system from Congress or something who like reviews like, well, all the decisions they make. Like, why the fuck did you say this? Like, this doesn't make sense. Right? I don't know. Sometimes feels like, this like Congress have this power, but Congress never uses it. Nobody reviews them like this.
Stupid that opinion is, okay? Like, let's apply this logic to any other situation, okay? Let's say that I'm a burglar and I break into your house. I sit you there on the table and I take 47% of all the shit in your house. I steal it, I walk away, I'm fucking gone. Later, the cops catch me, okay? And while I'm arrested in handcuffs and they take me into court, I look the judge in the face and I go, well, Your Honor, it technically wasn't me being a burglar and stealing because I was considering selling some of their shit at a heavy discount to a pawn shop, and if I did that, I had every intention of giving them some of the money back later. Do you think the judge would let me not? No, because that's fucking dumb. Okay, I don't even know how I got here. Okay, like a week ago, I got an email. Somebody said like, hey, fat electrician, you should look into Marvin Horne, the raisin farmer that defeated the federal government. And now I have this conspiracy theory about how FDR created a raisin cartel that extorted raisin farmers for 70 years straight. And I'm making a video for the internet, probably pissing off the raisin cartel. And now I need to go into witness protection because they're going to come and sun dry me and my whole family. I have to go. I got to go get ready for an altercation with the raisin mafia, I think. Thanks for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out. And now we wait. Yeah, babe.
You just got a weird package from the Raisin Administrative Company.
Do not open.
Yeah, don't worry. They're not gonna basically go do that. They're gonna send FBI. You're gonna be fine. FBI is gonna take care of you, basically. So this shit was insane all around, right? Why the fuck this is even a thing? I guess you can just avoid it by not doing raisins, but that's not how it should be. Like, one by one, like, this shit is gonna just amplify. Like, Congress should pass something that stops shit like this from happening, right? Put some kind of a limitation on like executive, executive branch or something. This is insane. Right, well, there was America's Raisin Cartel. I thought it was going to be some water play or something. No. It's literally a Raisin Cartel. It was on Fat Files. If you like American, don't forget to subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you next time.